Welcome, everyone. I am Susan Brady. Thank you for tuning in today. Last week, I began talking about healthy habits and how difficult it can be to make them stick, to make them sustainable. And one of the reasons is that most of us thrive on routine and consistency and shy away from change. The brain doesn't like change and actually uses various methods to stop a person from making a change because change involves doing things that are different or unpredictable, which can be scary. And making changes becomes even harder during times of stress or fatigue or overwhelm because during these times we're driven towards comfort and stability and not change. And if you think about all the times you've made New Year's resolutions or were excited about a new diet or exercise program or promised yourself that you would start meditating, but then life got in the way and all of your good intentions went out the window. So when we are seeking to make healthy changes in our lifestyle, we need a tool that allows us to take action, to overcome the brain's resistance to change, and helps you to stick to and follow through with your new diet or exercise or stress reducing plans. And one of the tools that I like to use is called the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule was developed by Mel Robbins, who is an author, radio host, life coach, speaker, and she wrote the book and lectures about the 5-second rule. And she explains how the 5-second rule can help you to take action in any situation. So she describes the 5-second rule, and I quote, "The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and physically move, or your brain will stop you." And she views this 5-second rule, this tool, as the ultimate brain hack for keeping you focused and moving towards your goal. So here's how it works. When you are faced with a challenge or a decision, you only have a few seconds to take action and make the right choice until your brain tries to sabotage you. So if you're leaning towards that unhealthy food choice or procrastinating with exercise or talking yourself out of doing something you really know you should do, you start to count backwards to yourself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And at go, you take action. And what happens is your brain is going to act and help to push you toward that goal, toward what you know is doing the right thing, the healthy habit, the healthy choice, instead of stopping you. And there's actually a lot of science behind why this works, but simplistically, it stems from the fact that we are emotional beings. And most of the time we act impulsively on emotion rather than making purposeful choices. And when you count backwards, it shifts your thoughts away from the emotional center of your brain and to the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And the prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain that is responsible for concentration and planning and problem solving. It also contributes to a variety of executive functions like predicting consequences of one's actions, managing emotional reactions and impulses, and processing all the information that's coming in around you and then adapting your behavior accordingly. And it's also the prefrontal cortex. That's the area of the brain that helps us to set and achieve goals. So when you count backwards, it engages that prefrontal cortex, getting you out of the emotional brain into the prefrontal cortex, helping you to take action towards your desired goal or behavior. It kind of interrupts that conversation going on in the brain about all the reasons why you don't want to do something, why you don't want to get up and exercise. Maybe that conversation is telling you, oh, it's too cold, or it's too tired, or you're too tired, or you need a little bit more sleep. But when you start to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and take action, all those excuses are shut down. That conversation in your brain is shut down, and you are up and on the way to the gym. Mel Robbins talks about the moment you start to second guess yourself, whether you should eat this or that, or roll over and go back to sleep instead of exercise, you only have 5 seconds to stop your brain from talking you out of it. And that is why, as soon as you have that instinct to act on a goal, you have to take immediate action before your brain tries to sabotage you and convince you not to do it. And I like to think about it as a countdown of a rocket blasting off the launch pad. You know, we hear all the time, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. And what's interesting is that counting up from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't have the same effect as counting down does. And maybe the reason is because counting up doesn't give you that same urgency that you need to take action as when you count down. So I found the 5-second rule to be pretty effective for me, and I use it frequently to get out of bed in the morning when my alarm goes off instead of hitting the snooze button. If I'm being drawn in by the smell of the bakery department at the food store, I just count down in my head 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and walk right past it. Or sometimes I have to use it at a restaurant when I'm hungry and drooling over the comfort foods on the menu. Just before I order, I count down and make that healthier choice. Thinking about making good health decisions is not enough. You have to take action. Most of us know what we need to do to be healthier, but all too often our brains talk us out of doing it. And this is where I found the 5-second rule to be really helpful, at least for myself. So try it. Let me know how it works for you, and then leave me a comment. I would love to hear what situation you used it in and whether or not it worked for you. And if you want to learn more about the 5-second rule, you can Google Mel Robbins, MELROBBINS, or the 5-second rule. She has lots of YouTube videos out there. She's done several TED Talks, and of course, I highly recommend her book. So I hope you have a wonderful day and a healthy week, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week.